I got up from Willow's bed, she lazily tossing my underwear at me. I've changed the door code. Don't come over unless there's something important. I froze, instinctively asking. Why? She smiled, curling her lips. I promised to be his girlfriend yesterday. I'm afraid he'll be upset if he sees you here. Chapter 1. When I opened my eyes, my waist was killing me. No choice. Willow really knew how to take what she wanted. And she had this way of making you keep going. Couldn't stop. Absolutely couldn't stop. Turning around, she was already awake, her beautiful shoulders and back exposed to the sunlight, displaying a color that is white with a hint of red. Her eyes half-lidded, radiating seductive charm. Why are you up so early? Her voice still had a trace of huskiness from last night's restless fun. The stiffness in my waist made me frown. I bent down to put on my pants but realized that I had been too hasty yesterday. My zipper was completely ruined. Willow rolled over, flicking her fingers at the white lace lingerie I had brought her yesterday, tossing it back to me with a mischievous smile at the corner of her eyes. Your taste really needs some improvement. You keep making me wear this old-fashioned white lace. Can't you get me something more fresh? I caught the lingerie. Well then, I'll buy you some new lingerie. What kind do you like? But Willow interrupted me. No need. I'm going to change the door code later. Don't come by unless it's necessary. I was stunned. I'd been seeing Willow like this for a year. At first, she'd call me over every few days, and later, except for when she had to work late, I'd practically lived at her place. We'd eat together, watch shows, and when we got off work early, we'd curl up on the couch to watch movies and eat popcorn. And by the time the movie was over, we'd be tangled up in each other, like a real couple. Over time, I had gotten used to this life. Sometimes I couldn't help but think, maybe Willow had gotten used to me too. What if we could build a family together? It would be so happy. But now she was telling me not to come over anymore. I instinctively asked, is your family coming over? I can. She sat up, looking at me, her lips curling up into a faint smile. No, I promised to be his girlfriend. It took me a moment to figure out who she meant. I had heard recently that a newly graduated rich kid had been chasing after her like crazy. Over the years, countless men had pursued her, but she'd never agreed to any of them. I had thought that this rich kid, freshly out of college, was just seeking novelty, naively thinking he could handle a woman like Willow. So I hadn't paid much attention. I hoarsely asked, are you serious? Willow smiled. Serious? He's different from those other guys. George, you don't know. He's so sincere. Unlike many men, I can tell what's on their minds with just one glance. She said this, staring directly into my eyes. I gave a faint smile, not responding. She continued, I don't want him to know about us. He'll be upset. Sunlight streamed in through the gap in the curtains, blinding. It was so sharp it made me dizzy. All right. After a pause, I said calmly, then I'll pack up and leave today. No need to hurry. Willow smiled gently, casually grabbing a pleated skirt and putting it on. Didn't you return your apartment? Stay another couple of days and find somewhere else before you leave. I closed my eyes for a moment. The bitter pain in my chest exploded, leaving me at a loss for words. No, I'm leaving today. I wasn't sure why I felt so urgent. Willow was right. I really didn't have anywhere else to go, but I just wanted to leave immediately. I felt like Willow had stripped me bare, leaving me to dry out in the sun. I was being swallowed up by shame. At Willow's place, my things didn't take up much space. Most of what I bought was for her convenience: appliances, cookware, bedding, and a few miscellaneous decorative pillows. The house was decorated in a minimalist style, and she had once said helplessly that ever since I moved in, the place had gotten more cluttered. But my personal belongings could fit in a single suitcase. As I was about to leave, Willow stopped me. She leaned against the doorframe, one hand lightly resting on the door, her body slightly tilted to one side. Her gaze held a faint smile, and the corners of her lips curled up as she said, George, you're not a kid anymore. You should find someone and settle down. From now on, we're still friends. I understood what she meant and nodded. All right. Chapter 2. The winter in South City is damp and cold, not particularly low in temperature, but the chill seems to drill right into your bones. It feels like it's snowing. Icy wet flakes fall gently on the tip of my nose. I look up, and the sky that had been clear a moment ago suddenly seems to darken. Countless tiny snowflakes fall with the wind. South City hasn't seen snow in years. Since Willow and I came here, it seems like snow has become a rare sight. I suddenly remember the snow from my hometown, a small coastal city in the north, where every winter, the humid sea breeze turns into heavy snowflakes, falling all night. By the time the morning comes, the snow can reach your knees, and everything around you is a blanket of white. It's refreshing, unlike the endless, drizzling snow here in the south that makes people feel a little uncomfortable inside. I put my luggage to one side and decided to sit at a bus stop on the side of the road to call home. My mom picked up the phone quickly, her voice excited yet cautious. George? The cold air stung my nose, and I rubbed at my sore nostrils. Mom, I'm craving the dumplings you make, she responded happily. I'll make them for you. Let me check the flights. It's almost New Year's, so tickets might be hard to get. I interrupted her. No need, Mom. I'm coming home for the New Year this year. She paused for a moment, then her voice became bright with joy. Really? I looked up. Snowflakes seemed to get in my eyes. I blinked, feeling my eyes dampen, and said hoarsely, Mom, I'm planning to go back to my hometown. That afternoon, I handed in my resignation. My boss tried to persuade me. Is it because of salary? You can tell us. We can negotiate. The department manager is moving on next year, and you're the one with the most potential to get promoted. It would be a shame to leave now. I smiled and shook my head. Thanks, Mrs. Laura, but I want to go home and spend time with my parents. I've never been an ambitious person. I don't have any dreams of being on top. I just want to live a peaceful life. I came to South City because of Willow. She wanted to develop her career here, so I stayed with her without hesitation. I thought that as long as I spent enough time by her side, she would eventually notice me. But it turns out, love is something you can't force, no matter how hard you try. On my way to the hotel, a bookstore by the street was playing a song. A woman's voice sang with intensity. An adventurous love turned into your puppet year after year, only to realize how miserable you are. Loving to the point of compromise, but in the end still no solution. Tying you down, not letting you fly. History keeps repeating, and it's making me tired. I listened quietly for a moment. The first time I met Willow, I was 17. Now, at 28, I had compromised for Willow for these years. I was about to turn 30. This 12-year-long absurdity should come to an end. Chapter 3. That night, I dreamed of Willow as she was when she was a teenager. Willow, at 17, transferred to our small county school in her second year of high school. At a time when most of the kids in the county were still awkward and scruffy, she wore a black dress, her long hair cascading down her shoulders, her figure slim and elegant. She looked like someone from another world, a model straight out of a fashion magazine. That afternoon, almost all the boys in the grade crowded by the windows to stare at her. Within days, even freshmen were delivering love letters to her. She became the school's new campus beauty, but she ignored everyone, always sitting alone at the back of the class, sleeping. It seemed like she wasn't interested in anything. She didn't bring anything to class, didn't listen to the lessons, and the teacher didn't bother her. Occasionally, during exams, she would poke me on the back. Hey, let me copy your answers. She seemed to assume I wouldn't refuse. And I really didn't refuse. Because of that, many girls didn't like her, saying she dressed like that to seduce men. A lot of those bad boys with mixed-up boyfriends would constantly send her love letters and harass her, making the girls jealous. For several days, I saw Willow come to class with handprints on her face, until that day, when I passed by and saw her being slapped by a group of girls in an alley. Her face was covered with dirt and bruises, and there were bloody marks on her forehead. I didn't hesitate. I stopped my bike, grabbed a brick from the side of the road, and smashed it on the head of the girl leading the group. Seeing my aggressive demeanor, the others scattered in fear. I threw the brick aside, took out a band-aid from my pocket, and handed it to her. Your face is bleeding. She lifted her head and shot me a cold glance. Get lost. At that time, I thought she was really annoying, couldn't even tell good from bad. What a jerk. I didn't like her anyway. After that, no matter how much she poked me for answers, I ignored her. A month later, fewer girls came to pick on Willow, but the rumors about her in class increased. Some said the black dress she had only worn once was from an unheard-of brand, costing more than 30,000 yuan. Some said she was a love child, her mother a mistress, that she and her mother had been discovered by her father's legal wife, and her father had abandoned them. Her mother couldn't survive in South City, so she had taken Willow back to her hometown. All the eyes on Willow, admiring, dismissive, or curious, had a hint of something subtle. One winter evening, on my way home from school, I passed that alley and found Willow lying on the ground. She seemed to have just been badly beaten. Her fingers were covered in blood, and her beautiful face was bruised, with blood dripping from her forehead. I didn't want to help her, but when I saw her lying there with her eyes shut in the snow kept falling, and she was almost buried in it, her face pale. I was afraid she might actually die, so I cautiously approached and poked her. Willow, are you okay? She didn't respond. I panicked and took out my phone. I'll call 120. Only then did Willow open her eyes, frowning. Why is it you again? I was a little annoyed, but there was no time to argue. You're seriously hurt. Let me take you to the hospital. Mind your own business. She sneered, then closed her eyes again. I didn't argue. I called 120. She was dressed too lightly, just in a white knitted sweater. So after hesitating for a moment, I took off my black down jacket and covered her with it. Willow was stunned. As I left, she called me. I turned around. My down jacket was an old style, bought years ago, and it looked a bit ridiculous on her. She stared at me coldly. Didn't you know my mom's a mistress? I hopped onto my bike. I've heard. So what? Then why did you save me? Your mom is your mom. You're you. I thought for a moment. Besides, being a mistress might be bad, but it's not a death sentence, right? Willow didn't respond. Her trembling eyelashes covered in snow as she stared at me. The sound of the ambulance grew louder, and I waved my hand. Don't forget to return my down jacket. Chapter 4. After that, Willow didn't come to school for a week. The girls who had bullied Willow didn't fare any better. After Willow's mother stormed into the school, all of them were expelled. A week later, Willow returned. She handed me a blue down jacket, turned her head, and said, "Your jacket got ruined, so I'm replacing it with a new one." I didn't feel anything strange, so I just accepted it. It wasn't until much later that I learned how much that down jacket cost. It could buy every piece of clothing I had ever owned in my life. From there, things progressed naturally. Willow's attitude toward me slowly improved, and I became the only friend she had in this small town. Before the college entrance exams, Willow suddenly asked me, "George, do you want to go abroad?" I was taken aback, and she lowered her head, her ears turning red as she continued, "My mom plans to send me to the US after the exams. Do you want to come with me?" I smiled bitterly and said, "Young miss, how could my family afford to send me abroad?" "Then where do you plan to go?" I thought for a moment and said, "Probably the capital. I'm afraid I won't adapt to the climate in the South. The capital is also closer to home. I'd only need a few hours on a train to get back." Willow reached out and tugged at my knitted cap, pulling it over my eyes without saying anything else. Later, the teacher asked us to write down our ideal universities, and I thought Willow would write down a university in the US, but instead, she wrote the same university in the capital as I did. I was surprised and asked, "Willow, weren't you planning to go to the US?" She leaned over her desk, mumbling, "I suddenly feel like the US isn't all that great. The capital isn't bad either." But 3 days before the exams, Willow tore up that piece of paper. When I asked her, she just stayed silent. That night, I found out that Willow's father's legitimate wife and son had both died in the same car accident. Her father asked her mother to bring Willow back, and after losing a son, he finally started paying attention to his only remaining daughter. He promised that if she stayed in South City, he would give her mother a legitimate status and let her inherit the family business. Willow said she didn't care for her father's money, but her mother slapped her, crying as she said, "Do you know why I've suffered all these years? For whom? As long as your father marries me, I won't be a mistress anymore. No one will be able to say you're the daughter of a mistress anymore." In the summer, when cicadas buzzed and made your head throb, under the shade of a silver birch tree, Willow lowered her head and wouldn't look at me. "I'm sorry, George, I can't go to the capital with you." Her voice still carried a husky tone, and her eyes were red from crying. I thought for a moment, then lowered my head and gently patted her on the head, saying, "It's okay, then I'll go with you to South City." Chapter 5. When I opened my eyes, it was already morning. Maybe it was because I had been out in the snow yesterday, but my head felt a little sore. However, tonight is a friend's birthday, and I've already bought the gift. I have to go. I picked up my phone, and Willow's message was the first thing I saw. She sent me a picture of a Snoopy pajama set. I forgot to take my pajamas. Come get them tonight. That was the pair of pajamas Willow had mistakenly ordered. She meant to buy one for me as a gift, but she accidentally ordered two, so, one for her and one for me. Whenever she wore them, I would feel a fleeting sense of happiness, thinking for a moment that she belonged to me, even if only for a second. But now, looking back, it feels pitifully laughable. I typed a few words in response. "Throw it away. I don't need it." She didn't reply. I flipped over and covered my eyes with my arm. After moving to South City, many things happened to Willow. I found out that her mother wasn't a mistress after all. It was actually Willow's mother who got together with her father first, and she had Willow because she truly loved him. But later, her father married a woman from a comparable family to form a proper alliance and abandoned them both. Even after marrying Willow's mother, her father still spent his time fooling around with other women and even wanted to have more sons. Her mother's life was hard. She fought with her husband every day, eventually falling into severe depression and committing suicide by jumping off a building. After that, her father seemed to have finally turned over a new leaf. He stopped looking for other women, but the rift between father and daughter was beyond repair. Willow never went back home after that. She started going to bars, nightclubs, and hanging out with all kinds of people in the entertainment industry. She drank, partied until dawn, and even learned how to smoke. The once pure, cold, and clean Willow seemed to vanish, like a dream, a fleeting illusion in my memory. Chapter 6. That night at the party, I met Willow's new boyfriend for the first time. To my surprise, he was quite clean-cut and cheerful. He wore a light gray sweater paired with dark blue jeans, his short hair neatly combed, and a warm smile that gave off a sunny vibe. He wasn't particularly striking, but his gaze was sincere. Willow was right. Compared to the other guys who had pursued her in the past, he was truly different. However, he came over and shook my hand with a smile, saying, "You must be George, right? Willow talks about you all the time. She's such a liar, though. She said you dress so old-fashioned, and that you look so poor, but you actually look pretty classy. We're both guys, right? Who doesn't know who?" It was clear he knew about my relationship with Willow, and he was now teasing me. Just as I was about to say something, Willow interrupted. She linked her arm with his and said, "Makoto, this is your brother-in-law." The others immediately started teasing. "Brother-in-law, you better treat Willow well." So many people have chased after our Willow over the years, and no one's ever been able to win her heart. "When's the wedding? I'll definitely give you a big red envelope." Makoto smiled calmly, putting his arm around Willow in a polite gesture. Of course, of course." Willow also hugged him back, turning to the others and saying, "All right, if you didn't know any better, you'd think I invited you here to play matchmaker. You'll scare my Makoto away. I won't forgive you if you do that. Makoto can marry me whenever he wants." Her friends laughed. "Looks like you two are already singing in harmony. What a love feast tonight." We found a place to sit. In the past, Willow would always sit beside me at these kinds of gatherings, but this time, probably out of habit, she sat to my left. Just as I was about to remind her, Makoto walked up to me. He looked at me and said, "George, could you please change seats? After all, you're still single. It's better to avoid sitting next to a woman with a boyfriend, don't you think?" I was speechless. I was the one sitting here first, but now it seemed like I was the one trying to take someone else's girlfriend. What kind of logic is that? I glanced at the two of them and stood up, moving to the opposite side of the table. The night was lively, and I had no idea how much alcohol was consumed. During dinner, Makoto reached for the fish. Willow instinctively said, "Aren't you allergic to fish?" Makoto went silent, and my chopsticks also froze in midair. After a long pause, Makoto's face darkened as he said, "Willow, I'm not allergic to fish." Willow paused, her brows furrowing slightly, her eyes avoiding his as she said, "I must have remembered wrong." Makoto glared at her. "Who's allergic to fish?" Willow's face flushed with a faint pink, and she instinctively bit her lip, saying, "I forgot. I really don't remember." Makoto shot me a glance, his expression darkening. Then, without a word, he placed the plate of fish in front of me, his gaze cold as he said, "George, this fish is pretty good. Try it." None of the other friends noticed the tension from before, and in their drunken stupor, one of them said, "Makoto, you don't know. George is allergic to fish. He can't eat it." Makoto responded faintly, "Oh, really?" As the alcohol flowed and everyone got a little drunk, one of the friends blurted out, "Willow, we all bet whether you'd get married before turning 30, and who would have thought you'd find true love so quickly?" Another friend, also a bit tipsy, squinted and giggled. "Yeah, we all thought you and George would end up together. You two were so close." Makoto's face darkened like the calm before a storm. Willow quickly tried to cover it up awkwardly, saying, "Really? How could we ever be together? We're just the best of friends. You're so funny." She said this with a genuine laugh, as if it were the funniest thing in the world. Her friends joined in the laughter. "Exactly, now we know. You two are just pure opposite-sex friends." Haha. I laughed along. "Exactly. How could I ever end up with Willow? That's too ridiculous." Willow walked over and poked me in the shoulder. She must have been drunk. Her face flushed, her eyes a little glassy, and she tilted her head, asking, "George, you don't really like me, do you?" In that moment, I wanted to read something in her eyes, but there was nothing. She just looked at me straight, as if we really were just the good friends she had said. I smiled slightly. "Of course not. That's good." Willow nodded, then lightly tapped my shoulder. "We're just the best of friends." Despite all the alcohol I had drunk, I'd never felt this clear-headed before. I repeated, "Yeah, the best of friends." Chapter 7. The next morning, I bought a direct flight ticket home. Before boarding, I checked my phone one last time. Willow had posted a new status on her social media, a picture of her and Makoto together, with no caption, just their hands interlocked. It was an official announcement. Below were all the congratulatory messages from their friends. I stared at it for a while, then took out my SIM card and threw it in the trash. Going home seemed easier than I had imagined. My parents picked me up. It was nearing the end of the year, and the streets were lined with red lanterns. Stores played Gongshi Futsai by Andy Lau. It wasn't as bustling as South City, but the lingering scent of fireworks and firecrackers made me feel unexpectedly at ease. My mom was ecstatic because I hadn't been home for the new year in 3 years, all to accompany Willow. But after a while, she couldn't help but start nagging. "You're almost 30 this year. Why haven't you made any progress? The neighbor Sam's son is even a year younger than you and already knows how to buy groceries." "Oh, I went to see him the other day. He's so chubby. Really cute." The young man at your mom's work is going on blind dates. Oh, and our neighbor just got a really pretty girl. I'll introduce you to her. Okay. My mom was looking at me carefully as she spoke. I used to hate blind dates. For all those years I liked Willow. She was the only one in my heart. After that messy night when our relationship became complicated, I thought I had a chance, and I only saw her in my mind. So whenever my parents brought up blind dates or marriage, I wouldn't listen. But this time, I looked out the window at the red paper scraps flying from the fireworks and suddenly felt so tired. I was exhausted. Maybe settling down isn't so bad after all, I said. Okay, you don't always have to resist so much. I know you like that girl Willow, but what did you say? I nodded and said. I said okay, introduce me to her. Chapter 8. After dinner that night, I habitually picked up my phone, but I received a WeChat call from Willow. I had already switched to a new WeChat account, but many of my old friends were still on the old one, so I still logged into it every now and then. She seemed to have completely forgotten what had happened these past few days and spoke as if everything were normal. Why can't I get through to your phone anymore? Before I could answer, she continued. Never mind, I've already prepared everything for the new year. Do you need anything special? I suddenly remembered the year Willow's mother had just passed away. That year, I went back to my hometown for the new year. On the night of New Year's Eve, I called Willow on video, wanting to wish her a happy new year in advance. The video call took a long time to pick up, and when the screen lit up, it was pitch black, except for a small, dim red-orange light slowly fading away. Willow's voice was hoarse, as if the cold wind had seeped through the cracks. What's up? Once the screen adjusted to the light, I realized that Willow was sitting alone on the balcony, surrounded by scattered empty bottles. Outside the window, the city was full of lights, and fireworks exploded in the sky. But all that noise and festivity seemed irrelevant to her. She just sat there alone on the windowsill, watching the perfect lives of others, drowning in solitude in the night. At that moment, I suddenly felt an overwhelming sense of pity for her. My throat tightened, and I forced a smile. I'm wishing you a happy new year in advance. Got any red envelopes for me? She seemed to chuckle lightly, and soon the sound of a transfer notification echoed. She had transferred 100,000 yuan to me. I was stunned, and after a long pause, Willow suddenly said, George, when are you coming back? Her voice was lost to the wind, and I couldn't hear the rest of her words. I didn't know if she was trying to say I'm lonely or I miss you. I couldn't think of anything else. I quickly told my parents there was an urgent matter at the company, then bought the next available flight back to South City. At 3 a.m., South City was still as lively as ever, the streets full of neon lights, and cars streaming by without end. But Willow's apartment was completely dark. Panting, I rushed upstairs and knocked hard on her door. Willow, open the door. I thought Willow had already gone to bed, but to my surprise, she opened the door quickly. She stared at me, completely stunned. She froze in place. How did you come back? I smiled and said, I came to spend the new year with you. Willow didn't say anything, just kept staring at me. Just when I was starting to feel awkward under her gaze, she suddenly threw her arms around me. She held me so tightly, as if trying to bury all her pain in my arms. Her head rested on my shoulder, and silent tears soaked into my shirt. From that moment on, every year, I would spend the new year with Willow before going home. It had become an unspoken habit between us, but this year, I hadn't expected her to already have Makoto by her side, and yet, she still came to find me to spend the new year together. I glanced out the window and softly said, I'm going back home. Willow froze. She didn't seem to expect me to say that. After a moment, she replied, yeah, it's been years since you've gone back home for the new year. You should go visit. I gripped my phone tightly. There was a silence on both ends of the call, and I vaguely heard Makoto's voice. Willow, come over here. I fixed the hot water. You can take a shower now. I'm coming. Willow responded. I replied indifferently. I'm hanging up now. Her voice was unreadable. I pulled the phone away from my ear and pressed the hang up button. The screen went dark. Chapter 9. I thought I wouldn't be able to sleep, but to my surprise, I passed out as soon as my head hit the pillow. When I woke up, it was already past 2 a.m. I had woken up because I was thirsty. The dry, cold air of the northern winter was still something I wasn't used to after just returning. I went downstairs to the kitchen to get a glass of water, but as I was about to head back upstairs, I suddenly heard a faint noise coming from the bathroom. A thief had broken into my house. My whole body tensed up, and the hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. My heart was racing, and after a moment of hesitation, I grabbed the rolling pin from the table. Just as I was about to reach the stairs near the bathroom door suddenly opened. I was so startled, my scalp tingled. Instinctively, I swung the rolling pin down hard. The figure inside nimbly dodged it and quickly moved out of the way. In that one glance, I realized that the thief was a woman, and she was dressed very minimally. only in her underwear. Damn, not only did this thief break into my house, but she wasn't even wearing clothes. I immediately dropped the rolling pin, grabbed her left wrist with my other hand, and pressed her against the wall, restraining her. But to my surprise, this thief was very refined, and there was a faint scent of lavender on her. However, the next moment, she suddenly began to struggle violently. She twisted her body and reached up with her right hand to grab my face, and I instinctively bit down on her arm. She was trying to escape. I quickly grabbed her right hand and held both of her hands tightly. She suddenly started begging in a tearful voice. Please, let me go. My clothes are in the living room, and the money I stole is from my dad's secret stash, probably around 2,000 yuan. I was speechless. This thief even steals from her own family. Seeing that I didn't respond, she continued. If you think it's not enough, I can transfer more to you via WeChat, but I don't have much, only a few thousand on hand. Just let me go, and we'll pretend this never happened. I've never seen you before. I'm still young, haven't been in a relationship or married. Please, I beg you. I was stunned, completely bewildered. What did she think I was? I hurriedly turned on the light. A young woman was pinned against the wall by me, with tiny drops of water running down her fair cheeks. They passed over her slightly trembling eyelashes, flowed down her autumn water-clear almond eyes, and finally gathered at her quivering chin before falling onto her soft body. Her delicate figure was pressed tightly against the wall, showing off her curvaceous silhouette. Her eyes were full of fear and helplessness. When I took a closer look, I froze. This woman looked exactly like the photo my mother had shown me of the young tenant next door. I hesitantly asked, Anna. She nodded in confusion. Afterward, once she had dressed, she explained. I'm the tenant next door. The water heater there broke down, and the landlady asked me to come here to take a shower. Sorry, I scared you. I was speechless and embarrassed, wishing I could disappear into a hole. I flushed and muttered. Sorry, Anna waved her hand and said, It's fine, I understand. You really scared me though. I thought I was going to lose. She paused and suddenly covered her arm. I looked at her, and saw a small bite mark on her forearm, which was turning purple. I awkwardly scratched my head and said, I'm really sorry. Let me go get some iodine to disinfect that for you. Before I returned, I never expected my first night back home would involve sitting on my own couch next to a strange woman. We were nearly head to head. I pressed a cotton ball to her wound, and that's when I found out that Anna was an artist and had been visiting the area for inspiration recently. Looks like it's a bit deep. Really sorry. I startled you earlier, I said, frowning as I looked at her wound. Do you need a tetanus shot? Anna rubbed her face and seriously said, I think I need a rabies shot. It took me a second to realize she was insulting me. I couldn't help but glare at her, but my gaze wasn't as forceful since I knew I was in the wrong. Anna chuckled. To be fair, your bite mark is actually quite round. It has a certain aesthetic to it. Chapter 10. My mom really liked Anna and often invited her over for dinner. She would secretly give me suggestive looks. Anna is such a nice girl. She often comes over to chat with me and keep me company. Just look at her. She's so beautiful. If you two got married and had kids, they'd definitely be. I helplessly said, Mom, that's enough. It's not that I didn't think Anna was great, but I once saw her wearing a trench coat. That trench coat, carelessly tossed over the back of my couch, I'd seen Willow wear before. It was a custom-made piece by an Italian family with a century-old history, worth at least 6 figures. She was also from a rich family, not someone from my world, yet Anna had a way of charming older folks. She would call them sir and madam, and since she came, the garden had become even more vibrant. She enjoyed tending to the flowers in her spare time, filling the yard with the scent of fresh blooms. Even my dad spoke highly of her. Even on New Year's Eve, my mom invited her over to join us for the family dinner. I was speechless. Why did you invite her over? My mom shot me a glance and replied, Anna's all alone here. So pitiful. Do you have the heart to let her spend New Year's by herself, without even having dumplings? I had no choice but to watch as Anna sat down at the dinner table, her peach blossom eyes sparkling as she smiled. Madam, the dumplings you made are delicious. My mom's face practically reached the back of her head as she eagerly handed her more dumplings. If you like them, eat more. She went on, and I couldn't help but feel awkward when she sighed and looked at me. George, when are you going to bring a wife home for me? With others around, I felt embarrassed. Mom, there are people here. Can we just eat in peace? Anna turned to me and said, George looks like such a warm-hearted guy, and he's really handsome. I'm sure some young lady will like him. Don't worry, madam. My mom pouted. What am I supposed to be worried about? He was so cute when he was little, and now he's getting more and more like his father. I'll show you his baby pictures in a minute. I couldn't take it anymore. Mom, enough already. But Anna just smiled and said, sure. After dinner, my mom really pulled out the photo album and sat with Anna to look through it. This was when he was 100 days old, so chubby and cute. Look at George as a child. So fair, with big eyes. The neighbors all loved him. They said he looked like a little lucky doll. This is from his elementary school performance. Oh my gosh. Look at his chubby cheeks. So adorable. My mom hadn't even finished flipping through when my dad called her away. I awkwardly walked over and said, "My mom is like this. Don't mind her. If you don't want to see, you don't have to." But Anna looked up with a smile in her clear eyes and said, "Don't mind it. The madam is right. You were really cute as a kid." I froze on the spot. Chapter 11. After watching the New Year's gala, the sounds of firecrackers outside hadn't died down. The small town doesn't ban fireworks, and various colorful fireworks flew all around. Although they were clearly cheap, they were still dazzling when they bloomed in the sky. I stood on the balcony with a bottle of beer, unable to stop myself from thinking about what my friend had said. He told me that Willow was going to White Horse Manor for a vacation with Makoto, his tone full of frustration. "You've been unclear with her for so long, and you still haven't won her over. She's already planning her wedding in a few days." I could only smile helplessly. She was probably sweet and lovey-dovey with Makoto now, and from now on, she wouldn't need me to spend New Year's with her. It seemed like her life no longer needed my presence. When my friend found out about the mess between me and Willow, he scolded me for being useless. I knew he was right. It was pretty pathetic. She had never once said she liked me, but I kept clinging to her, pretending we had something. I loved her too much. I couldn't bear the thought of losing her, even if this fake intimacy was the only way I could feel like I had her. But those false joys were fleeting, just like the fireworks in the sky, gone in a moment. Are you bothered? My thoughts were interrupted as I turned around and saw Anna with a lollipop in her mouth, tilting her head slightly. After I shook my head, she came closer, and the lollipop twirled in her mouth. I tried to make conversation. "Aren't you going to mind being alone for New Year's? Where are your parents?" Anna, chewing on the lollipop, mumbled, "They're far away." I wanted to smack myself. "Sorry." Anna glanced at me, her eyes gleaming with a smile. "They're on a cruise to Antarctica." I shut my mouth, feeling like an idiot. Anna couldn't hold it in anymore and started laughing, accidentally cracking the candy in her mouth. She coughed a few times before grabbing the beer next to me and taking a swig. I dryly said, I already had some." She handed me an unopened bottle and naturally took the one I had been drinking. "So, what's fun to do here in the winter?" I was sidetracked by her question. I thought for a moment and said, "There's not much to do here. It's too cold in winter." You could watch a movie." Anna nodded slightly, indicating she understood. I broke the silence, curious. "Why did you come here?" "Field work." Anna squinted at the distant horizon. "Don't you think the winter here is especially beautiful?" "Yeah, it is. So when are you leaving?" Anna didn't immediately answer. After a pause, she smiled with a glint in her eyes and said, "I was thinking of leaving in spring, but now I suddenly want to stay a little longer." "Why?" "Because." Just then, my phone rang, and it was an unfamiliar number. I motioned to Anna, and she wisely stepped back from the balcony. "Hello." There was a long silence on the other end before Willow's voice finally came through. "George, did you change your phone number?" Chapter 12. I wanted to cut off all contact with Willow, so I only told 2 close friends about changing my phone number. I also stopped using my old WeChat account, planning to delete it once I finished sorting out my personal relationships, but it was too easy for Willow to find me. I thought our separation was mutual and understood, but I didn't expect her to still reach out. I vaguely responded, "Mm." There was a brief pause on the other end, and then Willow's voice came through, low and controlled. "When are you coming back? I'll go find you." In the distance, fireworks exploded, their fleeting brilliance leaving only ashes in the air a second later. I took a deep breath, feeling my throat tighten. "Willow," I said quietly, "I'm not coming back." There was a long silence on the other end, and after a few seconds, Willow's voice was emotionless. "You're not coming back? What do you mean?" I opened a beer can, and the foam spilled over. "I'm not going back to South City." I gripped the can, feeling the coldness seep through my hand into my body, the dull pain in my chest tightening, numbed by the alcohol. "I'm staying in my hometown." "Willow, you're right. I'm not getting any younger. It's time to settle down with someone." All that remained on the line was the sound of breathing. I stayed silent for a while. "I'll hang up now. If you don't have anything else to say, then don't look for me again." I was about to hang up when Willow suddenly raised her voice. "George, what do you mean? Say it clearly." Anna pushed open the balcony door just then. "Beer. Do you want some more?" Willow froze, then demanded, "George, who are you with?" I didn't want to talk to her anymore, so I hung up the phone and blocked the number. "Sorry, did I interrupt you?" Anna came over and asked. I shook my head. "No, girlfriend." She suddenly sounded like she was gossiping. "No." I took a sip of beer, the cold liquid sliding down my throat, leaving my neck feeling cool and empty, and I couldn't help but shiver. A red scarf, warm from someone's body, was suddenly draped around my neck. I turned my head. Anna blushed and said, "Don't freeze." That night, I lost track of time drinking with Anna. My parents didn't bother us, and we sat on the balcony, drinking and chatting. When I woke up, I found myself lying in my bedroom. I sleepily walked downstairs and was surprised to find Anna already dressed, sitting at the dining table with my mom, peeling garlic and chatting. I couldn't help but click my tongue. Some people could look like a model even while peeling garlic. No wonder she was an artist, looking at her face every day. How could her sense of aesthetics not be high? My mom frowned and scolded me. "It's already so late, and you're still sleeping. It's New Year's Day, and Anna has already come to wish us a happy new year." I glared at Anna. "We drank together last night, and now she's trying to get me in trouble." My mom noticed the bite mark on Anna's arm, and exclaimed, "Oh my, what bit you? This big bruise, is that a dog bite?" I stopped in my tracks, and Anna smiled faintly. "Oh, just a little curly-haired dog. Never mind the dog. Did you get a vaccine?" I did, ma'am." I gritted my teeth. My mom continued, rambling. "You young people staying at home all day is so boring. Go out and see the sights. Even though our town is small, there are lots of beautiful places." Anna lowered her long lashes, a touch of melancholy in her eyes. "Ma'am, I don't have any friends here, and I'm not sure where to go for fun." My mom felt sorry for her and pointed at me. "This wild kid is always lazing around at home. Let him go out and accompany you." Anna smiled contentedly. "Ah, thank you, ma'am." I rolled my eyes. Anna looked like a high and mighty flower, but turns out she's just a pretentious coquette girl after all. Chapter 13. The next morning, I quickly packed up, planning to have breakfast and then take Anna out for a walk. My mom was still busy in the kitchen when there was a knock at the door. It was probably Anna coming over to mooch some food again. I walked over to open the door, muttering, "Back again to mooch off us." My words caught in my throat, and I stared, wide-eyed. Standing at the door was Willow. She was wearing a black down jacket, with snowflakes settled on her shoulders, and when she blinked, the melting snow water dampened her lashes. "You," I stuttered. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to wish the Mr. and Mrs. a happy new year and pick up my red envelope," she replied smoothly. My mom came out of the kitchen, holding a spatula, and cheerfully said, "Anna's here. Mrs. made your favorite braised pork buns." She froze when she saw Willow. Willow nodded at my mom. "Happy New Year, Mrs. I'm Willow, George's friend." With that, she set down a pile of bags in the living room and politely added, "I hope you don't mind me dropping by." My mom nervously put the spatula down. "Ah, no, not at all." She struggled for something to say. "Willow, have you eaten yet? If not, please join us." I thought Willow would refuse. After all, when was someone like her, so high class, ever going to eat in my family's humble home? But Willow nodded and said sweetly, "No, I haven't." "Thank you, Mrs." I watched her quietly, wondering if she'd lost her mind. My parents were polite but distant towards Willow's visit. They weren't stupid. They knew who was behind my setbacks in the past few years. Honestly, it wasn't Willow's fault for not liking me, but to my parents, their son was perfect in every way, so if someone didn't like him, they were just blind. They remained cool and aloof around Willow. A while later, the doorbell rang again. My mom opened the door, and Anna came in holding a watermelon. "Mrs. I saw some watermelons being sold and thought I'd buy one." My mom's face instantly changed, and she smiled. "Oh my, you didn't have to bring anything. It's winter. Watermelons are so expensive. You're wasting money." "It's not expensive, Mrs. I smell braised pork buns. Did you make them this morning?" "Yes." My mom quickly handed Anna a pair of slippers. "The ones you like. Today. Eat as much as you want." Yes, Anna had practically made herself at home. Even had her own slippers in our house. At this rate, if I stayed away for another 6 months, my parents would probably treat her like their own daughter. The dining room quickly became lively, with Anna chatting away with my mom about this and that, while Willow stayed silent and didn't eat much. I honestly didn't get it. Anna, a painter, was supposed to be all aloof and distant, but here she was, chatting away with a middle-aged woman about all kinds of gossip. From the story of Mrs. Lee's daughter marrying a gangster and getting pregnant before marriage, almost killing Mrs. Lee in the process, to Mr. Wong from the East Side getting involved with his maid, trying to kick out his wife for a divorce. What in the world was all that? Until Anna asked me, "George, where are we going today?" Suddenly, Willow set down her chopsticks and looked at Anna coldly. "Who are you?" Her tone was rude. Anna wasn't bothered, though. She just smiled and said, "Oh, I live here." Willow's face darkened instantly. The rest of the meal felt like I was sitting on pins and needles. After we ate, I immediately called Willow upstairs. "What are you really here for?" I frowned. "Aren't you supposed to be with Makoto on vacation?" Willow turned her head. I suddenly didn't feel like going. She got a little angry and asked, "George, why did you suddenly come back to your hometown? Did things not go well in South City? We're friends. If you need help, I can assist you." She paused as if there was so much she wanted to say, but all that came out was, "As long as you're willing to come back, right? You must be short on cash. Why didn't you say anything? That little bit of male pride won't feed you." I stared at Willow's face. Her arrogance was so blatant. It should have seemed harsh, but with her beauty, even the harshness took on an air of icy elegance. Years had passed, and she hadn't really changed. I let out a bitter smile. "Willow, what do you want me to go back for?" She froze. I continued, "There's nothing left in South City to tie me down." But Willow said, "What about me? You're just going to leave me behind? After all these years together?" Her brows furrowed. Her eyes filled with complicated emotions. I cut her off. "But don't you have Makoto with you?" "Willow," I said, lifting my head to look her in the eyes, "I can't stay with you forever. I have my own life. I'm not young anymore. It's time for me to settle down. Find someone and live a steady life. Didn't you say that yourself?" Willow stared at me blankly. Anna called me from outside. "George, are you ready? The car's here." As I stepped out, Willow suddenly grabbed my arm, pulling me with force. "Who is she?" Her face was dark with anger. "My house guest." "House guest?" Willow sneered coldly. "I bet your parents are already planning to take her in as their daughter-in-law." "Huh. George, you came back for her, didn't you?" I was getting impatient. "Think whatever you want. I'm leaving." Then, the next moment, Willow snapped, shouting wildly, "What? Have you slept with her? Is it better than sleeping with me?" Slap. I slapped her hard across the face. Willow turned her head, her cheek stinging. The slap had been full force. Blood slowly began to seep from the corner of her mouth. She wiped it away, and a tear slipped down her face, mingling with the faint smile on her lips. She said, "George, you're something else now. Hitting a woman." She grabbed my right hand and pressed it against the other side of her face, saying, "Is that better? Do you feel better now? You can hit this side too if you want." I looked at her, my heart a mess. I laughed bitterly and said, "Willow, what do you want from me? Are you insulting yourself, or are you insulting the me who stayed by your side like that?" Willow suddenly snapped out of it, hurriedly wiping away her tears. "George, please don't say that. I was wrong. I shouldn't have said that." At that moment, all the pent-up emotions burst through, and I felt like I couldn't stand anymore. It was like I was experiencing low blood sugar. Everything seemed upside down, and the world lost its color. I shook and collapsed onto the couch. My fingers trembled. Willow panicked and tried to comfort me. "I'm sorry, George. Don't be mad. I was wrong. I said things I shouldn't have." "Hit me again. Hit me twice," she said, dragging my hand and rubbing it against her face. Her face streaked with tears. She sobbed, hit me, please." I was shaking with anger, pointing to the door and shouting, "Get out, Willow. You disgust me. Get out." This was the first time I laid a hand on Willow, and the first time I cursed her. Willow stood frozen, confusion in her eyes. Just then, her phone rang, and she answered. Makoto's voice came through. "Willow, where are you? I just got food poisoning. I'm in the hospital. When are you coming back?" Willow didn't respond, hanging up the phone. After a long pause, she softly said, "George, if you ask me to stay, I won't leave." I looked at her, gave a faint smile, and calmly said, "Go ahead, Willow. Don't come back to find me." Willow gave me one last look, her eyes dark with emotion. "Fine," she said. "George, don't regret it." The last tear fell from her cheek and splashed onto the floor. Then she slammed the door and left. Chapter 14. I didn't understand why Willow had acted like that. After thinking it over, I figured it was probably because I had always been by her side, and suddenly I was gone. She wasn't used to it. Maybe in her eyes, even if she didn't like me, I was supposed to always be there, treating her like the center of the universe. But with Willow's prideful nature, after I had spoken to her like that, she would definitely never come back. My eyes felt sore, and my heart was heavy with complicated feelings, yet, it also felt empty, like there was nothing left. That day, I couldn't go out with Anna. When I went to explain, my eyes read. Anna didn't say anything. She just reached out and linked her hand with mine. Then that night, she came over again. My parents had gone out to visit relatives. When I opened the door, Anna was standing there with a pair of Ultraman underwear dangling from her delicate finger. "What the hell? That's mine." My face flushed bright red, and I grabbed it, lowering my voice to hiss. "Where did you get this?" Anna looked at me with wide, innocent eyes. "It blew over from your balcony." I was in the yard, enjoying the breeze, and it just fell right on top of my head. I felt like my head was about to explode. I stammered, unsure of what to say. Anna just kept laughing. She was staring at the underwear I was holding, and that smile, ugh. It was so annoying I almost wanted to thank her but couldn't bring myself to. "What are you laughing at?" I glared at her. Ultraman is a symbol of a mature man. Anna smiled sweetly. When I have a kid, I'll name him Digga. I was speechless. She could even make a connection like that. Rest well tonight. If you're feeling low blood sugar, just eat one of these. Anna handed me a jar. I'll come find you tomorrow to hang out. She closed the door behind her. I looked down and saw it was a box of chocolates. On this cold winter evening, that warmth spread up through my palms. I reached up and touched my chest. It felt like something was swelling there. Chapter 15. Anna and I never did get to watch the movie. It was a 6 p.m. showing, but because of the heavy snow, we couldn't get a cab, and I hadn't driven my car. She insisted on waiting for the last bus, so I checked, and around 6 o'clock was when the last bus came, so I took her there. But when we arrived, the bus had just left, and we chased it through the snow for a while but couldn't catch it. Anna was furious. She said, "An $80 movie ticket, just like that, wasted. There's nothing we can do. Since you've already done your makeup, let's just go for a walk by the sea." The winter sea was beautiful, as if the entire world had been coated in a cold, bluish tint. The streets were blanketed in white, and the blue signs stuck out of the snow. Occasionally, there were couples wrapped up tightly, laughing and talking close together. On the narrow streets, the headlights of cars turned the falling snowflakes into a warm yellow hue. Anna and I walked along the beach, chatting here and there. I had done some research over the past few days and found out that Anna was actually a very famous and talented artist in the industry. So, I asked her politely, "What have you been painting lately? I've never seen you paint." Anna glanced at me and stuck out her tongue, saying, "I'm not telling you." I was speechless. Fine. If she didn't want to tell me, she didn't have to. She was being quite mysterious, though, acting like she was hiding some secret. The cold, damp sea breeze pierced through the gaps in my clothes. Anna walked for a bit, rubbing her hands together, and exhaled a puff of air. I said, "I told you to wear more layers. You were too busy looking pretty, and now you're cold." Huh. I don't usually speak like this. My friends always say I have a good temper, but for some reason, when I'm with Anna, I can't help but tease her. She shot me a glance and retorted, "A real man would take off his coat and give it to a woman. Are you even a man?" I teased back. "But I'm only wearing one jacket. If I give it to you, I'll freeze." Anna, fuming, walked ahead, muttering, "You dog of a man. I can warm myself up with exercise." But I grabbed her arm. "I can't give you my coat, but I can share half of it with you." With that, I unzipped my jacket, pulled her into my arms, and wrapped it around both of us. The faint scent of lavender lingered near my nose as she pressed her face into my chest. I could feel her heartbeat, and she could feel mine. It was like a drumbeat. I couldn't tell if it was mine or hers. She felt warm and soft, and both our chills were swept away. We stood there quietly, wrapped in each other's warmth, neither of us speaking first. At some point, the snow stopped falling. The clouds in the night sky parted, revealing a few scattered stars. One star was especially bright. Anna looked up for a moment and asked, "George, have you ever read The Nightingale and the Rose?" My mind went blank. "What? There's a nightingale in it. She hears a young student crying because he can't find a red rose, so she gives her life to create one." I nodded and asked, "Okay, so what happened next? Why did the student need that red rose?" The waves along the shore had already frozen, a smooth white surface stretching across the beach, with more snow accumulating on top of the waves. "George." Anna suddenly called my name. I looked down, and Anna was gazing at me intently. There was a soft, glowing light in her eyes, a gentle tenderness. Slowly, she rose onto her tiptoes. A cool kiss landed on my lips. Chapter 16. Sitting on the plane back to Nan City, I couldn't help but smile bitterly at the window. I had just said I wasn't coming back, and here I was again. But a friend's wedding is one of those big life events, and I couldn't miss it no matter what. Anna insisted on coming with me, but after that kiss, my mind was in turmoil, so I refused her. She didn't seem too happy about it. When I left, she stared at me at the airport. "George, if you don't come back, I'll come find you in Nan City." I nodded and said, all right, I'll come back tomorrow." I had just put the red envelope into the box and sat down in the banquet hall when I felt a gaze on me. Willow naturally sat in the chair next to me. Makoto, seeing me, furrowed his brows slightly but still smiled and said, "George, I heard you came back to your hometown. How come you're back so soon?" "I came for the wedding and then I'll go back." Makoto let out a sigh of relief, his smile widening a little. "I see. It's a pity, but when Willow and I get married, you have to come to that one too." I couldn't be bothered to argue with him. I simply replied, "Yeah, if I have time." Throughout dinner, Willow seemed to be showing off her affection. She'd feed Makoto some food, or she'd hold on to him and make him drink. The two of them were glued together, all lovey-dovey and clingy. If this had happened before, I would have definitely felt uncomfortable. But at that moment, my mind was filled with that kiss from Anna. What did it mean? Did she like me? What should I do? Do I like her? Meanwhile, Willow and Makoto's public display of affection grew more intense. Willow, who had been smiling earlier, suddenly changed her expression when Makoto put a piece of beef on her plate. She stiffly said, "Makoto, I'm allergic to beef." "You forgot." Makoto froze for a moment, about to speak when, suddenly, the noise from the table next to us grew louder. It was the family table. The groom's family was upset because the bride had bought a house before the wedding. And drunk, the groom's side shouted, "Your family's just been scheming against us." The bride's relatives were equally angry. "We agreed to pool in for the down payment, but you secretly bought the house and now expect us to pay for the renovations. What's the logic behind that?" The groom's uncle, drunk, started pointing at them and cursing. "So what if it's for renovations? Does your daughter feel too shy to move in? Are you selling your daughter off?" The bride's family stood up. "What do you mean by selling off? You guys changed the terms without telling us. Everyone knows property values rise, and renovations only reduce the value. Do you think you're the only ones who are smart? You think everyone else is an idiot?" The two sides exchanged heated words, neither giving way. No matter how the bride and groom tried to mediate, the shouting wouldn't stop. Eventually, someone must have thrown the first punch, and chaos broke out with dishes and bowls flying around. In the confusion, several bottles of liquor came crashing toward our table. Willow instinctively pushed me away. One bottle hit Makoto's head with a sharp crack, and blood began to seep from his forehead. Willow didn't notice at first. She leaned over to me and asked in a panic, "George, are you all right?" Makoto stood still, his hair stained with blood, staring blankly at Willow, who was worriedly looking at me. Only then did Willow notice the blood on his forehead. She opened her mouth as if to speak but fell silent. Makoto clenched his fists, gritting his teeth, but said nothing. I had a bad feeling. I quickly got up to leave. I understood Makoto's hostility toward me, but I had already given up on Willow. I really didn't want to get involved in their business anymore. "I'll head out first," I said quickly. "Thanks for earlier." "Wait." Willow instinctively started to chase after me. Makoto shouted from behind, "Willow, if you go after him, we're done." Willow's footsteps slowly came to a halt. After a moment, she turned to look at Makoto, and there was no sadness on her face, only a slight sense of relief and release. "Okay," she said. Makoto's eyes widened. After a long pause, he stared at Willow, a bitter smile tugging at his lips. "Willow," he said, his voice filled with anguish and hatred, "what are you even?" Then, without a second glance, he turned and left in disgrace. Chapter 17. Walking out of the hotel, I lowered my head and asked, "Why?" Willow didn't answer. After a long silence, she suddenly stopped and gave a self-mocking laugh. "Because I like you." "All right, George, I understand now. I finally understand. It's me. I'm pathetic." She closed her eyes for a moment, her slender figure seeming to collapse, as if the stone weighing down on her had finally been moved. "If we're together, I know you like me. From now on, whatever you want from me, I'll give it to you. I won't be with anyone else. Come back, George." I stared at her for a while, unable to stop myself from thinking, if she had said this months ago, how happy I would have been. I had liked her for so many years. In the past 10 years, I had been exhausted, in pain, and troubled, but I had never once given up on my love for her. I finally got what I had dreamed of. Willow had returned my feelings. Yet, I only felt ridiculous. An indescribable fatigue washed over me. I shook my head. "No." Willow grabbed my shoulder with force, her brows furrowing, a flash of excitement passing through her eyes. "Why, George, can you honestly say you don't like me?" I looked up into her eyes. This woman I had loved for 10 years, who had grown from a girl into a woman, her appearance seemingly unchanged, but I felt as if the world had shifted, as if everything had changed. For the first time, I clearly understood, we couldn't go back to the way things were. "No one will wait for you forever," I said calmly. "Willow, loving you has been too difficult. Too difficult. I'm exhausted. I don't want to love you anymore." Raindrops began to fall. The rain gradually became heavier, the traffic flowing endlessly through the rain curtain, the neon lights flickering in bizarre colors, flowing like a dream. Willow's gaze remained fixed on me, the raindrops falling into her eyes, and the spark that had once been there slowly faded. Her lips parted slowly, her voice trembling as she spoke. "George, don't do this. Give me another chance. I'm begging you." Willow was too proud of a person, and after all these years by her side, I had never seen her so humble. She said, "I'm begging you. But who should I beg for? The one who had loved him so painfully for so many years." I suddenly understood that love doesn't fade gradually. Instead, it disappears in an instant. The fire that once almost consumed me, after being extinguished at some point, could never be reignited. I gently pulled Willow's hand away and whispered, "It's too late." Willow's eyelashes and the corners of her eyes were dotted with raindrops. Her clothes were soaked through, and the strands of hair on her forehead stuck to her face. The rain felt as if it weighed 1,000 pounds, layer by layer, breaking her pride completely. She blinked. A droplet hit the ground with a soft plop. I couldn't tell if it was rain or tears. Chapter 18. After 6 months back in my hometown, my relationship with Anna hadn't progressed much. We still got along very well, but every time the topic of defining our relationship came up, I always felt like I wasn't ready yet. My last relationship had been too painful. I started to worry a little. One day, I went to see Anna, but I found her packing her things. A suitcase stood by the side, and she was folding clothes. I stood there stunned. Are you leaving? Anna didn't look up. Why the rush? What time is your flight? 2 p.m. I'm leaving soon. I stood there, a little stiff, and said, oh, I see. The room fell silent. I awkwardly tried to make conversation. Well, I suppose this place is nice to look at when it's snowing, but in the summer, there's nothing special about it. Anna looked up and shot me a glance of complaint. Is that all you have to say? I said. Safe travels. And that's it. Anna lowered her head and continued packing her things, visibly upset. I bent over and tried to look up at her from below. Are you crying? Anna rolled her eyes, turning her head to the side. So, I tried again, looking up at her from the other side. Are you really crying? Anna snapped. Are you sick or something? I'm leaving. And you don't have anything else to say? I nodded and said. Then don't leave. Stay and keep me company. She snorted. Why would I stay with you? I'm not some love-struck idiot. I was speechless, feeling a little disappointed as I watched her continue packing. She leaned in from the left side and looked at me. Are you crying? I didn't answer, turning my head away. Then she leaned in from the other side and asked again. Are you really crying? I didn't respond. This little girl sure had a strong sense of revenge. A moment later, Anna said, I know you'll miss me. I'll be back the day after tomorrow. Don't forget to pick me up at the airport. I was surprised. You're coming back, obviously. She gave me a look. I paid for a year's worth of rent. I scoffed and said, I'll get it back for you then. Why? Don't you want to live there anymore? I tapped her nose and said, my mom would never have the nerve to charge her future daughter-in-law rent. Anna's face turned red, and she reached out to hit me. She said, who's your future daughter-in-law? I grabbed her wrist and pulled her into my arms. Gently, I lifted her face. In the soft kiss that followed, she said, wait for me to come back. Chapter 19. I didn't hear from Willow again until 6 months later, through a message from a friend. Do you know Willow's suffering from severe depression? A few days ago, she mixed alcohol with sleeping pills. Luckily, they found her in time, took her to the hospital, and saved her by pumping her stomach. She cautiously added, I heard when she was brought to the hospital, she wasn't unconscious yet, and she kept calling your name. I fell silent. Do you want to go see her? I rejected the suggestion. Our paths had long diverged, whether for better or worse. I didn't want to have any more connections with her, but I didn't expect Willow to come find me. The northern snow came early that year. It was only December, but the sky was already blanketed with a thick, swirling snowstorm. The small town wasn't too noisy, and the snow fell quietly. Anna and I had just finished shopping at the supermarket and were heading home when we spotted a figure standing under a street lamp not far away. The figure was already covered in a thick layer of snow. It was Willow, standing still, watching us quietly with emptiness in her eyes. George, her voice fell into the snow, trembling slightly. I nudged Anna. You go ahead. I'll catch up in a bit. Anna furrowed her brows, then reluctantly said, I'll give you 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Okay. After Anna left, Willow walked up to me. We hadn't seen each other in almost a year. She looked thinner, and the once arrogant look in her eyes had dimmed. Is there something you need? I asked her. She just stared at me, her eyes slowly reddening. Her voice was hoarse as she said, George, I can't let go. What should I do? How did you let go? She asked. Teach me, please. I replied calmly. Once you've heard enough, you just let go. Willow looked slightly dazed, and she hunched down as if my words had pierced her like a knife. We just missed each other. Her eyes reddened. If I had understood sooner, maybe we could have. No. I shook my head with a bitter smile. Willow, it was never about missing each other. As long as I didn't leave, you'd never think of me. We were never meant to be. There was no future. Willow's lips moved as if she wanted to say something, but the words never came. Tears, or perhaps melted snow, dripped from her eyes. When I noticed fresh scars on her wrist, I sighed. Willow, I used to think that loving someone so much, and not being able to have them, meant the world was going to end. But now I realize, in this world, everyone can keep going, no matter who's missing. You'll let go eventually. I glanced at my watch. My 5 minutes were almost up. Anna, that little jealous troublemaker, would surely be upset if I was late. I turned to wave at Willow. All right, time's up. Let's go. Willow, Just as I was walking away, I heard a heart-wrenching cry from behind. George, I can't let go. I'll never be able to let go. I kept walking, not looking back. Later, as I was taking off my shoes, Anna leaned against the wall, glaring at me with that strange look in her eyes. She mimicked Willow's tone, saying, "Oh George, I can't let go." I acted nonchalant and said, "Mom wants us to come over for dumplings. You going?" She immediately forgot about the scene and brightened up. "Yeah, let's go." Chapter 20. The news that the genius painter Anna was holding an art exhibition quickly trended online. My friend was beyond excited and called me immediately. Please, you know Anna, right? Help me get a ticket. I love her work." I went to see Anna, but she only gave me one ticket. "I don't have any more. Just this one for you." I was speechless. She really is too proud. I gritted my teeth, but when the day of the exhibition arrived, my body honestly showed up. I really wanted to see what Anna had painted in this small town. The exhibition was called The Nightingale's Rose. What was strange, though, was that there was no one at the entrance. The exhibition hall was dark, and I started to feel a little doubtful. Could I have gotten the time wrong? But then, in the next moment, all the lights turned on at once. I stood frozen in place. The hall was filled with paintings, big and small, scattered all around. All of them were portraits of me. There I was, drinking beer on the balcony, wearing a coat, walking on the beach, laughing foolishly with my head down. I had never known that Anna had painted so many portraits of me. I didn't know how she remembered all these moments. Each scene was vivid, with lifelike expressions, and her gentle brushstrokes overflowed with love. Every moment we spent together had been captured by her paintbrush. I walked down the hallway to the last painting. It was an oil painting. In the tranquil dawn, a nightingale handing a rose to a young boy, emitting a soft glow. My eyes welled up with tears as I stared at the painting, then at the person who walked out from behind it. Anna, holding a single rose, smiled as she walked toward me. She said, "Would you cherish this nightingale's rose?" I nodded, took a few quick steps forward, and pulled her into an embrace. "Yes, I will never let it go." Side story, Willow's perspective. A friend asked me what I liked about Makoto, and I was about to say his strengths, but suddenly, the image of another person flashed in my mind. I waved it away. George is just a friend. He can only be a friend. I never thought George would leave. He had been with me for 12 years. How many people get 12 years like that in their lives? Almost half of his life had been spent with me. We couldn't live without each other. But I never imagined he would actually leave. He said he was going back to his hometown and wouldn't return. I thought it was absurd. He's not coming back. Then what am I supposed to do? After hanging up the phone, I went out onto the balcony and started drinking. If he wants to leave, let him. He's just a friend. I have plenty of friends, but no matter what, I couldn't stop panicking. I fumbled with my lighter for a long time, unable to get it to work. I realized I couldn't take it. I had to go find him. I had to ask him why he wasn't coming back. Where could he possibly go when I was still here? But the moment I saw him, I realized he was serious. He had made his decision. I panicked. When I saw another woman appear by his side, I was consumed with anger. I'd never been so angry in my life. I spoke without thinking, and she slapped me. He told me to leave. So I left, back home. I dug out that Snoopy pajamas from my closet. It was a mistake I had made when buying pajamas. At the time, I thought it would make a good gift for him. It seemed to suit him. But since I bought too many, I wore it a few times myself. Every time he saw me wearing it, he was so happy, laughing behind my back and even taking pictures. Before he left, he told me to throw it away, but for some reason, I didn't. I just kept it in my closet. I took it out now and stared at it in a daze. It hit me, almost too late, that I had liked George for a long time. I was the one who had relied on him more, but subconsciously, I thought I shouldn't like him. I remember what my mom told me before she died. Don't love someone too much, because love will kill you. Love killed her. Her whole life was spent on one man, and in the end, she gave up her life too. I understood. Love fades. Love isn't reliable. No matter how deeply two people love each other, in the end, they'll either grow tired of each other or even become enemies. Lovers will leave. If I were with George, maybe he'd get bored and fall in love with someone else. But friends don't leave. Friends can be with you for a lifetime. I knew George liked me, but I pretended not to know, deceiving myself with this friend label. But only now did I realize that he, too, would get tired and hurt. He would leave. I tried to get him back. I told him I'd understood. I begged him, lowering my pride. George loves me so much. How could he bear to let me suffer? But he just smiled at me calmly. It's too late, he said. I knew it. I had no chance left. The love in George's eyes was gone, but it didn't matter, right? If he could let go, then I could too. For a year, I didn't go looking for him. I didn't check any news about him. I pretended he wasn't in my world anymore. I ate alone. I slept alone. I lived alone. I didn't think about him anymore. I thought I was okay. I thought I had moved on. Until one day, I suddenly started having insomnia. I couldn't sleep anymore. I began taking sleeping pills. And later, I started to hoard them. After collecting a whole bottle, I took them with alcohol and swallowed them down. I didn't even feel pain. I just felt like it wasn't worth it anymore. While I was unconscious, I dreamed of George. Since he left, I had never dreamed of him again. This was the first time. In the dream, it was snowing. It was cold. So cold. He was 17 again, draping a black down jacket over my shoulders, and chiding me. "Willow, how come you're so grown up but still don't take care of yourself properly?" Tears welled up in my eyes, and I tightly gripped his hand. But George slowly pulled his hand away, and he began to grow older, turning into an adult. The smile on his face seemed weary, and he said to me, "Willow, I have to go. You'll have to take care of yourself from now on." Tears streamed down my face, and I begged him not to go. But he slowly pulled his hand from mine and turned to leave. A suffocating pain shot through my chest. It felt like he took my heart with him when he left. I finally understood. I had never let go. I will never be able to let go.